All right, I'm going to first talk about Ryan Holiday's Stillness is the Key, a super highly recommended book, especially because it's very accessible for anyone to grasp. It's like smaller pages, and not only smaller pages, but only a couple hundred, so you can read it in one night or two nights. Compared to some of my other favorite books that are like 600 big pages. Ryan made these really accessible so anybody can carry them around and maybe just read one of his short little, I'm not even sure if they're called chapters. He puts them in like these books he puts in like a 3-part sort of a series within the book, and each has a few really short chapters, but I don't know, it's a unique style, I think. But it works really well for him. He really weaves it all together in a way unlike anybody else. I will say his writing as a whole made a lot more sense to me after this. And he's a younger guy, nothing against that, but I feel like this book in particular is where he really came into his own as a writer, kind of like on that upper echelon where he's trying to emulate some of the great philosophers and writers, at least of our day. So in the 3 parts he talks about, he starts with the mind, and then part 2 is the soul, and part 3 is the body. And he has his 2 or 3 other books that he does a similar thing, but a little bit more of a process rather than domain. And I'll talk about those another time. What's cool that he does too, even the short narratives, he gives you a little bit of history and more up-to-date history, and he's, I think, really into sports. So he got into the Tiger Woods background, probably better than anybody could do as far as in a short chapter. That story made it a little bit into a couple chapters. It was actually a really good sort of dark side or shadow side story, because I know a lot of people are interested in that, which is a deep issue that isn't always talked about enough, although I know it's a really popular idea, but it's hard to talk about for obvious reasons. And the chapter in here is called The Domain of the Soul, is mainly where he talks about sort of Tiger Woods' dark side, how he sort of had this two-faced life, and how he's able to overcome that. Another one of my favorite little chapters was about how all is one, and to just always remember, if things aren't going great, remember how everything's connected. We're all going through the same feelings, the same experiences, and a lot of it, as it says, stillness. It's about stillness. It's about being able to bring yourself into presence and peace, even in the hectic world that we're living in. This one actually got signed by Ryan. I met him when he came out to do a signing here the week that he released it, or the week after. And the other thing that he does really well, and this one in particular, is he that I was really impressed with, is he goes at these ideas from so many different angles and backgrounds of different philosophies. He's mainly into Stoicism, but then he also goes from the even religious backgrounds, Buddhism, and a little Christianity, and the story of David and Goliath is in there. And what that does, though, I think is really important. It's kind of like a more implicit than explicit, that if we see how we can arrive at some of the same really important conclusions from these different angles of maybe even philosophies and backgrounds that we don't usually agree with. It helps us see how we're all the same, we're all in this together, which is one of the main points of the book. And I think that's really important. That's one reason that I really liked it. And I actually did a little book club on it. We met a couple times here locally in Orange County, California. And not everybody was as into it as I was, although they did enjoy it. Just, they said probably give it 4 stars instead of 5. And I think that's really important. I might talk about why I think that is in some future videos. But it's because I feel like they're being more critical, like a critic, and you just need to kind of give yourself over to it. Anyway, make sure you read this or get an audio. Thanks.